The president locked in the rates for 68 countries and the 27 members of the European Union, but then has extended the start date of the tariffs for another 7 days. What does that mean? What does that delay mean for the other countries who've yet to come forward?
Well, the president constantly throws these late-night changes into whatever he is proposing. And obviously, he started off at a very aggressive pace. Then he pulled back, and hence the taco. And thus, people don't know for sure what the president is going to do. And I think what all this is focused on is trying to get firms, and in this case, of course, countries, to the table more quickly. Because if they sign a deal, that deal is a good deal for them. If they don't, it's going to be very bad for them in the short term until they sign a deal. So I think all of this is to accelerate people and these countries coming to the table, agreeing to terms. And the terms he got out of both Japan and Europe were pretty extraordinary. So he wants to get that same sort of victory lap with these other countries.
Yeah, the president hitting the gas pedal on these higher tariffs. Where do you see it all leading for the economy? And similar to the question that I just asked Alicia, how we all feel it on a day-to-day basis at home.
Well, there was some positive news, even though it's negative for the stock, out of Amazon last night because they blew out earnings. Sales were up strong. The data centers, everything Amazon did was pretty perfect. But they said, as they have in the past, we're going to absorb as much of these costs as possible. Now, that's good for the consumers that go to Amazon to buy goods, and I'm sure you're one of them, just like I am. Yeah. But the fact that Amazon and Walmart and many of these big behemoths in the sales space are willing to absorb those costs, well, that's why Americans haven't felt it. Now, we'll see how much it impacts us in the next coming weeks and months. But I think overall, these tariffs have not been felt by the U.S. consumers, but they've certainly been felt by the countries that are importing to us, the world's largest consumer.
And as you know, it's been a huge, money week, and the Fed deciding to keep rates unchanged this week, and they keep on reiterating there's too much uncertainty around Trump's tariffs. Let me pop up this Truth Social. President Trump just sent this out a few moments ago. He said, Jerome "Too Late" Powell, a stubborn moron, must substantially lower interest rates now. If he continues to refuse, the board should assume control and do what everyone knows has to be done. Obviously the name calling is back. The pressure hasn't gone anywhere. What do you make of that latest statement? And do you agree with the president or do you agree with Powell?
I agree with the president. I mean, everybody else in the developed world is paying a lot less for the debt that they are financing than we are. I mean, Japan is just off of zero. Europe, most of it is in the Eurozone, is around 2%. We're at 4.5% Fed funds. That doesn't make sense to me. And as much as we would prefer the president not to have the name calling and/or for Jerome Powell to really do what he's always said he would do, and that is be data driven, he is not, because the rates have come down. The inflation rate is way down. And the fact that he is still stubbornly saying, and he said this publicly, that if it weren't for the tariffs, I would have cut months ago. That is one of the reasons the president is justified in saying too late Powell yet again, because he was too late when they stayed on zero for so long. And then they made the record-setting 7 rate hikes in a row. And then they very grudgingly came down from those 7 rate hikes. And now they've held at this rate for such a long time. I don't think it's justified. His consensus is not there with the FOMC. They basically, several members have said, we want cuts now. So they're not under the same pressure that Jerome Powell is under with the president, but obviously they think that we should be cutting rates as well. And I think now it's just stubbornness and just basically trying to fight against Trump, but that's like trying to fight against the tide. You're not going to win.
It's no doubt a turning point in this trade war. We'll see what comes next and who comes next too. Jon Najarian, thank you so much for your time and expertise, sir. Great to have you on the show.